I am Pratik Chaudhary and welcome to Quads Podcast. Quads is one-to-one mentorship platform, and today on our podcast, we are with an industry expert to mentor you. In today's podcast, I have Akshat Agarwal with me. Akshat has done his engineering in electronics and computer from Thapar University and now currently working as software engineer at Texas Instruments. Today's podcast would be covering topics like the whole interview process, do's and don'ts of off-campus placements, future of electronics industry in India, and many more. So I welcome Akshat Agarwal. Hey Akshat, how are you?
Hey Prateek, thanks for the introduction. Hey everyone. First of all, thank you, Prateek. Thanks to this platform, I personally feel this is something that surely I would have, regarded as one of the best platforms in my college time. Something that is a great initiative. So, congratulations to this initiative. And yeah, let's begin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akshat. So, Akshat, I would like you to introduce yourself, your story, what is your role at Texas Instruments, and moving ahead, I would be asking you specific question that we all have and have your insightful answers on them.
Okay, talking about my story, I feel my story is nowhere much different from any other student who was not ideally, clear about what they wanted to achieve. So there are students who are very much, clear about what they want to do at a very early age. So I was never one of those. There were things I used to like, and there were things that I used to not like. Be it a single subject, like let's say suppose maths. So there were subjects, in maths itself. There were chapters that I used to like, and then there were chapters that I used to not like. Similarly for other fields as well. So I was into dancing. I liked it, but did I want it as a profession? No, I was not sure. Maybe no, but it was towards more towards no. Then be it in some sports. So ideally, I was not very much clear. Also, I feel not sure. Like maybe nowadays schools have a lot of career programs and all, but at that point, I did not have that clarity. So I just kept on trying new things and moved ahead slowly. So then I obviously uh, I was more inclined towards science. I liked computers and I liked physics more because they were logically related. They could answer my whys and hows, different questions that I used to have. One thing was I was pretty curious, especially when it used to come to certain subjects, certain chapters. I was a curious person, uh, not one who could mug up stuff. So yeah, pretty much that. So I entered into a science stream. Um, I am from ICSE board, so there was a lot of pressure because we had like certainly like in our senior school, we all faced that because of boards on one side, different examinations, different projects and stuff, and then you're going to coaching or something. So it's pretty much hard. But then also I was more inclined towards physics. I stepped into for preparing for IIT and NIT. I made my mistakes. I did good at places, so I ended up in Wingthapa University. So as I entered, my college life, one thing that I was very much clear about was I wanted to live it in a different manner as compared to my school life. So ideally, like maybe it was because of certain movies or so. I wanted to live my school life in a different manner. I felt I was not satisfied with uh, the personality development that I had in my school life. So uh, I was not sure. Like before I entered college, the reason I wanted to, you know, take up a specific college or specific branch was never towards placements or what would I end up being. So even while choosing the branch, as I told, I had an inclination towards physics, but then computers was one that most people were preferring. I had an option of choosing a specific branch of computers with certain specialization that Thapa University was offering. But then at the same point, I I was not sure. So I ended up taking electronics and computers because that was the one which attracted me the most. It had parts of electronics and computers, and I liked the mingle and what my seniors were telling me about that specific branch. So entering entering the stream, entering starting of the college, it was pretty much going something similar. So I felt I ending up losing. I am living the college in no different manner that I was living my school life. Just the difference being this time it's not in wearing a dress, some dress code. It's casuals that you're wearing. So at that point, I decided that I would participate into multiple stuff. I want to explore more. I wanted to you know rule out that fear that I had inside me to of different stuff, be it socially, be it technically. I was not technically sound, especially when it used to come about stuff with computers, like installing stuff, and doing getting deep, not just the coding aspect, but in total knowledge about technology and all. So I started off getting into one society, the society being IETE. Then the next society, I participated into certain events that were organized, and slowly, one by one, um, I was ruling out that fear. I was stepping slowly towards what I was liking. I was canceling out stuff that I was not liking. So I participated into you know different social events. I did internships. I utilized my vacations in a productive manner. So one of the best ways is to get into some internships. There are multiple startups out there. There are different organizations which offer 1 month vocational trainings. So that is how I, just to broaden my vision. Not necessarily, I did not, you know, take into one certain specific field. I tried multiple, be it cultural, be it event management, be it somewhat technical, somewhat how industry is using what happening. So I did internships in ONGC. I did one in a research center of ISRO, one with Colinkers, which is an event management organization. So that is how I realized that I still had an inclination towards technology. I was more attracted towards it, especially when it used to come with electronics. Now, in electronics also we have hardware and then we have software. With software, I mean embedded. So I liked hardware. It was good to analyze, and it used to help me understand what is actually happening at the base. But then, with all the projects that I've been doing over the tenure, it attracted me to more towards software. So I wanted a perfect balance between software and hardware. That was what I was more attracted towards. So ideally, like, you cannot have that many requirements when you come towards placement. So as I said, I was not towards a placement centric. I was just following. I was just going with the flow to understand how much I can learn and how much I can explore myself. So this was by second end of second year. In third year, we had certain companies that were coming. We were totally not prepared. There were certain companies which were coming for pre-placements for pre-final year students. So Texas Instruments was one of them. So that was the first time that I actually got to know about this company, and um, I applied for this company. I went through the process. There was an online test, so we messed up. No one was selected from our batch, but we got a chance to attend their presentation. So in the presentation, they showed their work. So that was the point that actually amazed me, and I was so fascinated seeing their work, seeing their different projects they have, the culture they have, especially like they support people exploring, innovating. Like Texas Instrument have had 1.5 patents per person, an average of 1.5 patents. So all these attracted me. So that is how was the first time that I got attracted towards this company. So I made a list. Then during placements, which came pretty soon in by the end of our third year. So I made a list. Then again, it was a point of gamble because I had two options. Either I could go for a software company. I was good with computer basics because being from ICSE background, but I was not sure because coding for like continuously for 9 to 5 was not my cup of tea. Also, I was not into competitive coding till that time. So that was the time where I had to take a decision to finally step where I wanted to go. So I went with what my heart was there, because if I would have entered software domain, I could never come back to the semiconductor industry. So I took a decision. I prepared myself. Um, I prepared my basics, which I was very much confident about. I prepared on my projects. With that, I mean, like, what all I did, I realized why I did. There were certain reasons I did certain projects, and what were their use cases. I was pretty much confident about them. So then was the time placements came. There were lots of ups and downs. It was very unpredicted. That the season was very unpredictable. There were certain points where I would have given up on, and ended up going into some other company, but it turned out to be good. It was with the support of my friends, my family, that I kept on. I kept the hope, and I gave my best, and I got selected in Texas Instruments. So that is pretty much about my story.
Okay, so we got to understand from your story that it's important to explore in our college life and we must try everything we can. One important point that I noticed was you mentioned that to participate in various contests or enroll in multiple societies to get exposure, and from it, the question I get, how much participating in contests or being part of different societies or cultural festivals at college level help with placements? Does it even matter for the companies that came to hire you?
Okay, so see, so let's say I take the example of Texas Instruments. Okay,
Mhm.
so Texas Instruments, when it would come and any person who would come to interview you, he
Yeah.
would not, he would not relate to anything. They don't have that as a requirement, that how good are you at dancing, how good
Okay.
are you at singing. Let's say suppose you are very good at singing and you went into
Mm.
a society with all the cultural fest.
Yeah.
So that is not important to them, but
Mm.
what is important and what you will be actually learning following what you are interested in is
Mm.
how good are you in interacting, how good are you in communicating with the other person.
Mhm.
So how confident are you? So
Mm.
that how is one gonna learn to build confidence? Is
Mm.
it by studying? No, not just by studying. Yes, obviously by studying. If
Yeah.
obviously you would know the technical answer, you would be confident. And if you're not, then you would not be. But at times you know the answer, but because of the pressure out there, because of the atmosphere inside that one room, inside maybe okay in that um, uh, virtual meeting or something, whatever pressure is out there,
Mm.
the pressure that is created by the result. What
Yeah.
if I don't get selected? What if, what is the result? that the question behind the result, what that result is going to be, that
Hmm.
is a lot of pressure in itself.
Okay.
So how are you gonna be confident enough to keep that pressure into one side of your heart
Hmm.
and speak the answer,
Hmm.
what you actually know? So it is something at which we see most of the times, is we know something, but at that point we are not able to think because we are thinking in the wrong direction.
Hmm.
We are not thinking the street. So all that, presence of mind, what we term as nervousness, moving over that nervousness, not being nervous. So all
Hmm.
that comes with time, when you start with interacting with people, how
Yeah.
confident you are when you're up on that stage, maybe. So
Hmm.
this is something that can be developed in many ways. I won't
Hmm.
say it's like going up on the stage is only the way. No, it's not. You need to identify what are the different ways you can, and how it will gonna end up making you more confident. And that, I feel, one can only understand by exploring more, putting hands into different spaces that you're not already into.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about building personality by making balance and everything.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
see, personality is a broad term. So in personality, you would have different things that what would play a role. So I wouldn't say, like, developing your personalities, like, okay, day one I'll start developing my personality. No, it's not just a one day or a 1 week process. It's complete your 18-year, 19-year, whatever your age is, that year long of process, because that is gonna define what your perspective is, what how you operate. So there are a lot of things that play. So I feel personality is not something, obviously, like talking to you today, I am in some way or the other developing my personality because I'm interacting with you. I may come up with something that will make me look into a different direction, and my personality is changing because my perspective is changing. It's a broad term. It's a broad term, and I don't feel like defining those bottom, but on the ground reality, it's simple. You just need to interact with more people, and whatever fear you have inside you, that you need to remove in some way or the other. If it is the fear of, in simple words, interacting to inside, maybe let's say a male guy is like interacting with a female person, like all of a sudden if you want to interact with a girl, if that's a fear, you need to bring it out. What's the fear about? Okay, if you're not doing something wrong, the fear should be only in that place when you're doing something wrong. So if you're not doing something wrong, then what's the fear about? So you need to take that out. Let's be that fear of height. You don't know, like tomorrow, like, say, suppose, okay, we don't have skyscrapers in northern India as such, but let's say you are in Mumbai, or in some place, let's say Delhi or something, have buildings of 30 floors or something. If you have a fear of height and you are giving an interview at 20th or 29th floor with a glass floor, let's just imagine. So will you be able to, actually focus on what the technical or non-technical, whatever the question the interviewer is going to ask you, or you would be looking down and fearing, oh my God, what if, uh, what if this glass, wall breaks and I fell down? So you don't know. I mean,
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah. Okay. So Akshat, with this, we move to our another question. I think, and it's a very important and a basic question that every student have. What is this interview process? I understand that it varies college to college, but there are some common factors or some steps for the interview process. So Akshat, we would like you to walk us through the whole interview process.
okay, yeah.
Hmm.
So first of all, it'll be the most unexpected when you go out there. So
Hmm.
if you wanna imagine, if you wanna prepare you cannot get the actual question that's going to be asked to you
Yes.
in those
Mm.
1 hour or 2 hour when you are inside that room. So it
Mm-hmm.
is one of the most unexpected
Mm.
1 hour phase that you are going to face. But how prepared you can be is the
Mm.
question.
Mm.
So as I said, it's not just 1 day preparation that you
Yep.
can do, because you don't know what the person would ask you. He'll be
Mm-hmm.
asking you questions based on your last 18 or 19 years, whatever your age is at that
Okay.
point of time. He can
Okay.
ask you anything related to that.
Mm.
So broadly, we can define the
Mm.
interview questions into 4 or 5 aspects. The
Okay.
first one being academics.
Okay.
So he can ask you some academics questions. Then it can be about the job role. What do you know about the job role? What are the different tools in that specific job role, maybe, or what is about that field or
Mm.
that you have in there. So let's say we are talking about um, electronics based, so he'll be asking you like your job role is as a VLSI design engineer. So what is VLSI?
Mm.
How much do you know about this field? What are the applications? So
Mm.
the questions related towards the ends. So what are your
Mm.
expectations as your work?
Mm.
So those are the second kind of questions.
Okay.
Then third, we have the HR questions,
Okay.
which we all know we can find off any of the Google links.
Mm.
So there are some basic HR questions that you can have out there.
Mm.
Then you can expect some questions related to your personal life.
Okay.
So how did you do that? Let's say suppose you are telling them out there about your internship experiences or about
Mm.
your different societies that you have taken part in.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
can ask you some personal questions like, how did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
How did your, let's say suppose you are telling them in your resume about your skills, and also they'll say how did this skill play a role in that, or what was the skill that played a role in that.
Yeah.
So those are the fourth kind of questions, and then the fifth one can be some hypothetical questions that
Okay.
they can ask you, giving you some situation or something that you are
Mm.
into, and then they can ask you like how is it about.
Okay.
So if we come down to these five categories, I feel uh, something most like if we are talking about a technical interview. So
Mm.
one thing for sure, which for which they want a crisp technical answer is the academic one. So
Okay.
which is the most, and sure shot you are gonna be asked some academic questions.
Mm.
So now the question comes, what if they ask you something and you don't know the
Very
exact answer? Or
true. Mm.
the second question that comes into the place is, let's suppose they ask you some question and how do you exactly answer that question?
Mm.
So the answer to this is simple. Like,
Mm.
they would expect you
Mm.
to be very broad, and see, depends upon what time it is. See, at the end, I won't say this is the exact right path, but
Mm.
how clearly and simply you can explain something to the other person is
Mm.
the right approach, which I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Not cooking up stuff, not just saying some extra words and complicating stuff
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because you want to impress the other person, is not
Mm-hmm.
the right way. So
Okay.
that is where I would say your communication skills matter,
Mm-hmm.
not just in terms of how good you are speaking, how
Mm.
confidently you are speaking, and
Mm.
what is the reason behind whatever answer you are giving.
Yeah.
So you clearly can see, at the end of the day, you can be wrong. It's
Yeah.
okay, not a
Mm.
big deal. Like, obviously, if tomorrow I am working as a software engineer, it's not expected of me that I every line of code that I write,
Yeah.
it's perfectly gonna work. No, it's
Mm.
not.
Mm.
I am gonna write something which makes sense to me
Mm.
as per what I have in experience, or what I know about, or what there'll be something that I would be putting in
Mm.
behind as a logic behind
Mm.
writing one single line, or behind saying one single statement. So they
Mm.
just want to know why, and then
Mm.
maybe we can ration enough, and we can discuss over that logic, and we can come to a conclusion that yeah, if I am right or if the interviewer is right. It is possible
Mm,
the interview has a different perspective. So,
mm,
simple words, tell them what you know and what is the reason behind it that you are saying.
mm.
Simple. That is the simple way. And in a simple manner, try to explain them how did you reach that conclusion.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm,
So it all depends upon question to question. It
mm,
can be a one word answer, but to be honest, interview is not about one word answers.
mm,
They had the online test for one word MCQs. They
mm.
had.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they don't want
Mm,
ask you one word questions. No, they want to actually understand
mm,
how you are trying to reason, how you
mm,
are trying to approach a problem,
mhm,
how confident you are, how
mm.
good are you a learner, and
Yeah.
what is your direction. See, at the end of the day, you need to also understand the interview is
Mm,
also a person from that specific company, and
mm,
you'll be surprised to know it is not necessarily like people from my team go out there who are just 8 or 9 years of experience into technical. They are no HR people or nothing. No, they are
okay.
not trained for all this. Obviously
Mm,
they would be given some pre-training or something, as in
mhm.
select how to select,
Yeah.
but simply people from that technical domain who are coming out for a requirement. They have a requirement in their team or in their company, whatever, and they
Oh.
are gonna ask you questions out there. So it
Mm,
is it is it can change. It can change from company to company.
mhm,
Companies hire
mm,
people, hire different third party companies which
mm,
are specialized in going and
mm,
taking interviews and hiring people. So
mhm,
it totally depends who is the person coming and
mm,
what they are looking for and how are they gonna see. They will just have 1 hour or whatever, let's say 2 hours at
mm.
max, that they're going to interact with you.
Yeah.
And out of that, they need to judge you for your 20 years or 18
Mm,
years, whatever your age is. So
mm,
it's pretty tough for them also. And you need to understand the psyche behind the interview as well.
mhm,
So the best way is to simply answer and show you your major traits, as in like
mm,
how confident you are and
mm,
how good you can interact and how simply with taking baby steps you can answer a question. So let's say I'm
mhm,
saying, let's take an example. Okay.
mm.
So if they ask you some question which needs to do a simple math operation,
Okay.
so it's not necessary like that math operation can also be done by a machine learning algorithm with which you can give any XYZ parameters, and it will give you, it can forecast your answer. It can maybe forecast your question also. So
Yeah.
that is one way of, answering it.
Mm,
But you need to do that. You can just simply say that I'll take two inputs and I'll do a mathematical operation and I'll simply give you an output.
yeah.
Then they might ask you, no, I want a better approach. I
Mm,
want something related to that. So my simple answer is don't directly step in onto the 10th step.
okay. Mm,
Take
got it.
first step, then to like how you would simply approach a problem. So that
Mm,
is because at times the best solution comes with more cost. Simple,
mm,
right? So it's like they're asking you for a pen. So it's not necessary that you give them, $100 pen. What if their
mm,
budget is not at $100? They just
mm.
want to spend $1 or one
Yeah.
rupee.
Mm, very true.
So
Mm,
give them something at the base price. Let's
okay.
say you give them a simple pen, and
Mm,
then they would say no. I want. They would slowly present their needs. I want like
mm,
this. I want like that. So
mm,
then slowly proceed. So that will show that first thing, you're confident enough to sell that product.
mm,
Second thing, you have options and you
mm,
can adapt to that options.
mm,
Third, you want to convince me to buy whatever you have. So that is the simple ideology. I have myself made those mistakes. I
okay.
have myself, like you know in interviews, been asked about, let's say, a simple search operation, how you're gonna do.
Mm,
And like, when we are learning, we'll see, oh, binary search is the best way. So we'll
mm,
directly, okay, that is with the least um, what do you, the least time that it requires. That is the most the best way to do. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
directly jump and give the answer binary, the
Mm-hmm.
binary search method.
True.
And then the person will say, I don't want binary. I don't have. Why do you need to jump
Mm-hmm.
into that specific question? And it is possible when you're answering in such with such heavy terminologies or something, you might say something that the other person does not know. Do you understand? Yeah. So it is like, I ask you something, you tell me something, and I don't know as an
Mm-hmm.
interview. But my curiosity would want me to ask that.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
that that you mentioned?
Mm-hmm.
And then you say something which you don't know about. Then I'd say
Mm-hmm.
he's just simply cooking up something and trying to make a fool out of me, and he's
Mm-hmm.
not confident on what
Very
he's
true.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can actually try to create further pressure on the person who's taking the interview as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the student will feel, oh, I don't know this, did I say something wrong? Then he'll try to change the answer, and in
Mm-hmm.
that pressure he'll fumble, and boom,
Mm-hmm.
you
True.
you won't get into. So
True. True.
it is this whole interview experience is,
Mm-hmm.
take it as simple as you are interacting with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them what you know. If you don't know something, just tell them, okay, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And then you can just tell, what I can ration out from this
Yeah.
question is
Mm-hmm.
this, or what I
Mm-hmm.
have studied and what I can link to is this.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, like obviously, like if you take one
Mm-hmm.
single subject, there are so many broad questions to it.
Yeah.
It is possible that the interview asks you one specific thing
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then what? So interestingly, this brings me to one aspect which would have heard regarding the interviews asking is, what is your favorite subject? Okay,
Yeah, very
so
true. So, what is the correct
this
answer for this, Akshat?
to any question I cannot tell you the correct answer. I can just give you my simple opinion. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
obviously it would depend, like what the interviewer is expecting, you don't know. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously you would, ideally what you're actually supposed to say, which I feel is something that you are interested in, and
Okay.
uh, you have sound knowledge of. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say if you ask me or something, let's say if you answer, let's say data structures, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay that you don't know something in data structures. It's not gonna be like everything in data structures. It's not possible. So but out of all, you were most interested in data structures. So now the pressure starts to build, where at where the point you would think like, okay, he's gonna ask me about data structures, I know
Yeah.
everything. He'll
Mm-hmm.
just simply, the interview, he or she may simply ask you something, some keen finding that that person would have found when he was working. Obviously they would not come for 50 people, they would not come with 500 question list, and they would
Mm-hmm.
just tick off that I have to ask this. They
Mm-hmm.
on the spot would, they have some basic questions that they will ask you, and then where you are driving your interview, they will
Mm-hmm.
ask you questions from that itself.
Okay.
So
Okay.
out of experience or something, the person might ask you something, what he had found something, some loophole or some corner case or something
Okay. Mm-hmm.
from that specific data structures, or one of the most, what his team or what he thinks that his team would be using about in data structures. So they would
Okay.
ask that, like, what is that you know about it? And it is
Mm-hmm.
possible that you don't know that specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
then what? Then you
Mm.
try to explain them. The best way is to let them know that you are not sound with that. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay that
Mm-hmm.
you don't know something.
Mm-hmm.
And you would simply tell them what you know and how you can rationalize. See, data
Mm-hmm.
structures is a structural manner of handling a problem which can be handled in simple words. So tell them
Yeah.
that simple answer.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Let's say we are talking about some searching mechanism, there are
Mm-hmm.
complicated solutions. By but let's say you don't know a complicated solution, you can
Hmm.
still give him the solution in a simple manner,
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
right? With a
Yeah.
simple search operation, which you would know, or which
Hmm.
I feel like, see, what if these were the only problems, then what is the need of us engineers out there
Hmm.
if
True.
we are expected to solve some unexpected problems? So what will you do? You'll break that unexpected problem into some expected solutions, and then you would,
Hmm.
try to match your solution with what
Hmm.
is the result that you're getting. If it's
Hmm.
not working, you would again debug something, and then you would, come up with a better solution, or you would
Yeah.
come up with a theory what is failing. So
Hmm.
that process of, dividing a problem into some basic tasks
Hmm.
and then approaching it, that is the mindset that they are looking for.
Okay.
It is
Okay.
not that what they're looking for is just the right answer. No, it is
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
Obviously, like if you would, end up saying the right answer, it's good. He'll move to the
Hmm.
next question.
Yeah.
He'll be say, okay, he's good.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm not saying like if a person is telling all right answers, and it's not that you don't, after this, and like after this podcast, a
Hmm.
student feels like, oh, I don't need to know anything. For every question I can say like, yeah, I don't know, and I can just give him some simple theory that I know.
Hmm.
No, it's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
like that, obviously, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, the way you approach is what
Hmm.
is important.
Okay. Okay.
Obviously, in
Hmm.
interviews you'll get questions, you'll get,
Hmm.
places where you would not know the answers. And
Hmm.
I feel the best way to, understanding this is doing mock interviews. So it
Okay.
is possible your specific college would have, a
Hmm.
training team or some placement team. They would, organize some mock interviews.
Yeah.
Or the best way is like you can, ask your friends out there to
Hmm.
take,
Hmm. Hmm.
different mock interviews. It will although end up they just trying to bully you, but yes, it will be of some fruit, because
Okay.
you'll try to understand, and you'll try to, come up, like they can come up with some questions that you don't know, and then you can
Hmm.
introspect and think what how would you deal in
Okay.
if such a question is asked.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so got it. So to summarize, you have pointed out 5 steps for an interview process, that is to prepare for an academics, then the what the job role is, then the HR part, personal questions and hypothetical questions. And what you said was taking baby steps is way better than directly jumping onto the conclusion part. And tell what exactly you know. Don't rush it, don't exaggerate it, just tell what you know. That's it.
Yeah, and try to reason as well
Hmm.
behind why you think that is the reason.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that is also important. They need to understand
Hmm.
why you are saying so. It is possible
Hmm.
you have actually, like at times, like I have made those mistakes.
Hmm.
I understand
Hmm.
something in a wrong manner. So it
Hmm.
was making sense. It was
Okay.
making sense, but it was wrong.
Okay.
I had a theory, but which was false. So you need to tell them, and then they can correct you. So it
Okay.
is also a learning phase where you would
Hmm.
actually. It's not necessarily that you target the first interview and you crack it. No,
Hmm.
from the first interview also you need to take back some points, and it's good if you learn something good. Maybe that is asked in the second interview, and you know the answer now.
Okay. So the next question is how to, as you have obviously applied for many off-campus placements as well. So how to prepare and apply for off-campus placements? What are the must-dos and don'ts of it?
Okay, off campus.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll be talking more about the don'ts, because the don'ts were the reason that I could not get an off-campus placement.
Okay.
So I'll start with the don'ts. So there are some interesting don'ts.
Hmm.
So what how actually we start applying for off-campus placement. So we would obviously go to different different sites and look for different job opportunities. Let's say
Yeah.
suppose LinkedIn or something. We
Hmm.
would go to different companies career pages,
Hmm.
and then
True.
we would find, okay, there is an opening,
Hmm.
and then we would simply apply. okay, it
Yeah.
requires 1 year experience. I don't have anything, but I can convince the interview. Let's apply.
Okay.
No, you don't do that way.
Okay.
So it's like you'll apply into in 1 week full of confidence. You would apply into 10, 15, 20 places,
Hmm.
and by the end of the month you're not getting any response, or what
Okay.
response you'll get is, the company found a better
Hmm.
candidate. Sorry to
Hmm.
inform you, please
Hmm.
stay connected, and we'll try to reach you with a better job opportunity. So you'll
Okay.
get this mail.
Hmm.
So the problem that comes in, what I made a mistake, I like to tell you that, is like, Cisco came to our college,
Okay.
and before Cisco came to our college, in their careers page, there was an opening for
Okay.
internship as well as full-time opportunity for
Hmm.
the new college graduates. So
Hmm.
I thought, oh, there's an opening, let's apply.
Yeah.
But no, what I missed out was that portal was just made for the company, and for that specific job role, the company actually goes to different, on-campus placements. And for that specific link is like, they have like, whenever a company comes to
Hmm.
your college, they would obviously ask you to fill in your details so that they can,
Hmm.
create a database
Yeah.
and track you accordingly.
Hmm.
So those links are made for that specific purpose. And
Hmm.
what different portals like Internshala or Naukri.com, what they would do is they would simply catch those links because of some filters, or I don't know how they actually find it.
Yeah.
So they will get those links and they will post it on your on their web page or on different LinkedIn profiles. You'll get to see that
Hmm.
those openings are there, and you'll be fooled and you'll be applying into those, and you won't even get an acknowledgement mail
Okay.
for those specific inputs. But the
Hmm.
problem out there is those links were out there for on-campus placements. So you need to
Hmm.
understand what are the companies. You need to read different experiences, read different portals, or maybe connect to different people on LinkedIn of that specific company to know
Okay.
what is their hiring process. Do
Hmm.
they do
Okay.
it only on campus, or do they do it off campus as well?
Okay.
And that way we'll figure out. I'm not saying like Cisco does not do off campus, maybe it's
Hmm.
doing, but that is
Hmm.
not the right time when they're doing off campus placements.
Yeah. Hmm.
So you need to understand what and when are actually off campus openings open. So for that you need to connect to different people or different company. And
Hmm.
one specific thing that I see on, in on LinkedIn or something, that even I have made those mistakes. Like, I
Hmm.
would connect to some senior and I would directly ask him, give him that job ID and job role opening in their company, and I would ask them to refer me.
Hmm.
It's not how it works.
Okay.
You need to, interact with that person. Tell him it's okay. Like, people are out there, like, let's say suppose I'm out there, I'm okay to interact with people when it's when I'm available and when it's comforting to me.
Yeah.
I can actually interact to people, and I talk to them, they ask me how it is, then it's okay. I would not try. This is not some confidential data. I can
Hmm.
openly tell them like what is okay. At For some specific openings it might be confidential. I cannot give them some exact details. It is
Hmm.
possible, but people out there, they can tell you how the hiring is done at their company, or they can, even if supposedly they don't know, they can maybe take some time and contact the HR or the hiring team in their company and get back to you.
Hmm.
So you need to find soft links. This will obviously take some time. It is not
Okay.
that like you try it and 1 week and two you are having an interview. No,
Hmm.
at times it might work. At times that's your total luck, I would say.
Okay.
But then you need to interact with more people, connect to
Hmm.
more people some way or
Hmm.
the other, and then
Hmm.
try. The second way is like, there are many acquisition teams and all who would you know who actually interact when you send them their resumes or something. So
Yeah.
one thing I would like to caution to all the juniors and whosoever listens to this is,
Hmm.
on LinkedIn, especially on LinkedIn, that being one of the most, entitled for this job search and all,
Mm-hmm.
there are people who would be posting fake job IDs just to get, those, uh, just to increase their followers and all. So
Okay.
obviously, because if someone, posts that we are hiring, send me
Mm.
your resume, we are hiring for this position, do cross check.
Okay.
Don't send your resumes to any mail ID.
Mm-hmm.
Send it to corporate mail IDs or to people who have verified information,
Mm-hmm.
because people are using this. I don't know about other countries. In India, it is happening. People are using it as fraud. So you need to be
Mm.
cautious. Don't send your details, because in your resume you are, putting in so many details, and people at times put their parents and their family details as well in
Mm.
some sections, in some formats. I have seen that. So
Mm.
you need to be cautious. Just don't blindly, send in your resumes to anyone. No, it does not work that way.
Okay.
So properly go into steps,
Mm.
interact. The best way that I have seen is interact with people,
Mm.
and they can then they can try contacting HR teams,
Mm-hmm.
which they hardly respond to. So mailing HRs and all is not the right answer.
Okay.
HR team is different.
Okay.
So HR teams like follow some specific companies. They
Mm.
would have from their official web pages itself. They would be posting like understand when are they hiring off campuses. They would
Mm-hmm.
be posting that, and
Mm.
then applying
Okay.
through newspapers. If you get some opportunities through some
Mm.
specific newspapers, I don't know if that still happens, but yeah,
Mm.
till last year, like my friends were
Mm.
still trying. So that is authentic, because they do that filtering and they do some, checks. So in
Mm.
that too, you'll find some authentic
Mm.
openings, but
Mm.
still you need to cross check first and then
Mm.
apply. So that
Okay.
is the best way.
Okay. The
Yeah.
key learning is basically the cross-check everything.
Exactly. And
Mm.
do check that whatever link you
Mm.
find on careers page or something, that is not for
Mm.
on-campus placements. That is
Mm.
for off-campus itself. And that also please read through the details clearly, because there would be certain requirements that, let's say, suppose
Mm.
work experience or something, or is it for internship or what.
Yeah.
Companies are very hard and fast. They won't, like if they hire you, they won't do like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, I have my semester this semester. I'll join you next semester. This is not
Mm.
how it works. So
Yeah.
you need to be true on your resume. You need to be true when you're
Mm.
filling your details, and
Mm.
you need to actually read through the requirements very
Mm-hmm.
carefully, what
Mm-hmm.
all is required, and then apply. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the next question is, as you are with working as software engineer at Texas Instruments, so you will be very close to the electronics industry as well. So what is the
Mhm.
future of electronics industry in India specifically?
Okay.
Mm.
Coming to India in specific, as you mentioned, see,
Mm.
electronics is something that is taking a boom as we step into the second decade of the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
We need to understand why. So we have different technologies coming into play.
Yeah.
We have IoT coming into play. That is totally a software aspect, but it has a lot to do with electronics as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with Wi-Fi and coming into play, 5G
Mm-hmm.
coming into play.
Mm.
So electronics is taking a boom because automation is something
Mm.
that is happening at a large scale,
Yeah.
industry wide. Okay,
Mm.
it's a lot more of sensors. Each
Mm.
and every one of us would, go for home automation.
Yeah.
We want, lights to be working from our smartphones. We want
Mm-hmm.
different sensors out there sensing and, working out themselves. So reducing human efforts is something that is happening at a large scale, and
Mm.
it will continue for long. So
Mm-hmm.
electronics is into everything. You
Okay.
take a thing and it is into that. So
Mm-hmm.
in all, electronics is increasing at a large scale. So
Mm-hmm. Okay.
you know more about different technologies as well. I'm not
Mhm.
saying uh, like you need to keep yourself updated with different technologies. Let's say machine learning. So one
Mhm.
electronics guy would say, "Yeah, what is machine learning to do with me?" I'll
Yeah.
tell you, machine learning is something that is inside chips right these days. So we
Mhm.
have, if someone wants to follow TinyML, so
Mhm. Yeah.
on chip processing, on the edge processing, all these
Mhm.
things are up there, and we
Mhm.
need to start, exploring, and we can bring any technology into anything as we speak. As we just need to dream about it, and it can happen.
Okay. Okay. So we have a broad still we have a hope that electronics is the main aspect of for the computer part. So it's an optimistic future, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the best way is to, for especially for college people, we
Mhm.
have a lot of time, and if we give important time to, while we are working projects, make a small project. No one's asking you to, um, do some big projects at your college time. You don't have the funding, you don't have, you know
Mhm.
what's say, the resources to do
Yeah.
such things.
Mhm.
Do a small basic project so
Mhm.
that you can understand, but then think what that small project, if supposedly I fund you crores of rupees,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
suppose some corporate funds that crores of rupees, what is the application that you can create? So you
Okay.
need to understand logically how things
Mhm.
are working, how that is, helpful. Create
Mhm.
a small prototype
Mhm.
with
Okay.
minimalistic, features. Obviously,
Mhm.
let's say suppose, what one of the projects I made during my college time was, I added a small feature which
Mhm.
I feel could be one of the futuristic hopes from a smart watch. So obviously I don't need to, make all that is already there. I can just, what I thought of, one some specific unique project detail. Let's say suppose, uh, multiple device communication in this case.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we can communicate through different, like, today all the watches are Bluetooth connected. I want to make the watch independent of,
Mhm.
having calling features or something. So there are out there eSIMs. We have different technology. So we need
Mhm.
to understand the application, why we are doing that, the logic
Mhm.
behind that specific project, and then,
Mhm.
as much as you can at a small level, try
Okay.
to implement it. That
Mhm.
will actually help you understand different tools,
Mhm.
different, like, at the end, doing something theoretically is different, and when you are actually doing it on, trying to do it on hardware and then trying to
Mhm.
implement something, that
Mhm.
is totally different.
True.
So
Okay.
that way you'll search and understand more, is
Mhm.
my belief.
Okay, so Akshat, a very interesting question came in my mind right now is how much you can retain or how fast you can learn. What is important among two?
To me, it would be, you know it's a trade-off between the two. I'll
Okay.
say both are required,
Okay.
and by retain, how, like, I'm not asking you to retain the specifics or the answers, but the
Mhm.
logic, the working behind that, you need to retain, so that,
Okay.
see, the
Mhm.
reason why it is important. Let's say, there are so many different, let's say we are talking about different languages.
Okay.
Okay, so there are some specific. We have Java, we have C,
Mhm.
then we have C++,
Mhm.
Python, so many languages. So there are some key things which we can do simply in one
Mhm.
language, and which
Mhm.
we cannot do in the other.
Mhm.
Logically, it's the same. Okay,
Mhm.
so let's say suppose one person does, works very good in Java, and then
Okay.
he, at the end, when he joins some corporate, or what the requirement is of the company is, like, they are working on some C++ based programming.
Yeah.
So obviously you'll need to learn the syntax. So
Mhm.
how quickly you can learn the syntax, that
Mhm.
is important. But you
Mhm.
need to retain from Java
Mhm.
what were the logics. See, the logic remains the same.
Yeah.
So retention is important so that you can link and understand how things are, related. Then it becomes easy for you to learn
Mm-hmm.
retaining those things, and you can link into and understand more. So not
Mm-hmm.
just with this language thing, let's say you're working with two different technologies, let's say
Mm-hmm.
machine learning and internet of things.
Okay.
Okay, so you studied some different techniques in machine learnings, and now you
Mm-hmm.
are trying to understand internet of things or some automation things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're linking, and you need to process something, and you feel, oh, okay, I can relate to machine learning what I did earlier or some time back, and we can do something of that sort over here, and
Mm-hmm.
as a whole this will become more better. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
bring in and you need to link, and or maybe let's say suppose you understood, you did machine learning, but
Mm-hmm.
now let's say you did machine learning in your second semester, let's
Mm-hmm.
assume, and
Okay.
by your fifth or sixth semester you're doing internet of things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
in internet of things there is a small module which is processing, which is doing some machine learning
Mm-hmm.
concepts, and that is driving the whole internet of things, that whole system
Mm-hmm.
structure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't understand that module,
Okay.
because you have you don't remember what was there, so
Mm-hmm.
you will be stuck out there, and you cannot understand the application, why they did, why were they using machine learning block module over there or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a trade-off.
Okay.
Learning quickly is important, but I feel if especially in case of engineers, if you can retain the logic behind, or
Mm-hmm.
why did we do that,
Mm-hmm.
the different simple whys and why nots, then it's
Okay.
easy.
Okay.
Because any day, see, you can google up why you're doing that, you'll get the
Mm-hmm.
answer, but then it will be easy to understand because you understood at first. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
don't remember them on your tips, but then
Mm-hmm.
you can understand and you can retain and quickly link things up and
Mm-hmm.
ramp up.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So now we move to our last question, and this is the most obvious question that every student in the final year must be having. So, what if Akshat we get placed, say in mass placement or anything, and within next 6 months we are fired? So this thought we all came across. So how to handle these thoughts, and is it really this the way it happened?
Mm, okay,
Hmm.
hard truth first, it can happen. It
Okay.
happens, and it will happen in future also.
Hmm.
Okay, so it is not necessary. Let's say suppose a company hires
Hmm.
in November for interns working starting January the next year
Hmm.
for 6 months. So understand from the point they hired to the point at the end when your internship is about to over.
Yeah.
And especially with the last year playing role, we had
Hmm.
COVID,
Hmm.
so many companies ran into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
They the openings can change, the
Okay.
requirements can change, the companies financial structures can change.
Yeah.
So it is possible that, okay, let's say if they promised you full time, they will delay to
Okay.
some extent, or they might uh, give you less pay. That's all according to the policies, because you need to understand they are also company and they can foresee for some
Hmm.
specific time. I'm not
Hmm.
saying you won't get placed. There are, obviously, because they hired you in the first place as interns, they would have
Hmm.
openings in the company, maybe less, maybe more. So the best way is to try. Internships are meant for learning. Okay, so you need to learn as much as possible,
Okay.
understand,
Hmm.
and I feel, what is the need to be scared of? There are so many companies out there. In
Okay.
6 months, let's say if you are in the last semester, you're working for 6 months, you
Hmm.
have ample of time in that 6 months that you can apply for different companies. See, our perspective change when we actually step into corporate, because we would see different companies we can interact with, so many seniors out there in the company, and maybe you can make your connections out there.
True.
And you can there are like, I was studying in Thapa University, Patiala. So we don't have corporate much out there. We have some
Mm-hmm.
companies in Chandigarh, but not much.
Mm.
In Bangalore, there are companies which have step-in interviews. So
Okay.
they don't have any openings and all like that. They would say 24 to 27th of this month we have step-in interviews. So you just need to go there in that specific time slot.
Mm.
They'll mark your attendance or something, and they'll give you a slot where you can go for
Okay.
interviews. So there are things like
Mm.
that out there. So I'm saying
Mm.
opportunities are there. There are ample of opportunities. What you need to focus is is how much you
Mm.
retain from that 6 months of
Okay. Got it.
experience.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it is possible, like, you actually understand how that company works. See, internships also play a major role in molding
Mm.
your career options. So
Yeah, very
you
true.
don't
Mm.
need to just join a company and you know try to work there all your life just because it's paying you good. No, it's not like that.
Mm.
You need
Mm.
to, at after a certain point, you won't be able to deliver if you don't like
Mm.
that work. So I feel it is important to some extent,
Mm.
to understand your company's working, to actually like
Mm.
what you're doing. So internships are meant for that, and the major
Mm.
role internships are is for learning. You need to learn,
Mm.
actually take something away from the corporate. So even in my
Got it.
case, uh,
Mm.
as I was working in Texas Instruments, so I did not have a
Mm.
full time, and
Mm.
3 days before my internship ended, so my
Mm.
internship even got extended, so it was approximately 7 months.
Okay.
So 3 days before my internship ended, I got that I am getting a full time opportunity.
Mm.
So for 6.5 months or something, I did not know, and that pressure was consistently over my head. And at
Okay.
times, there were points that I was not able to perform as good. Like, if I had a doubt, I would initially be thinking so much that should I ask my mentor or not? He would be
Mm.
judging me that I don't know that this simple
Mm.
thing. No, it's not like that.
Okay.
Try, give your best, and then if you don't know, you need to ask. So
Mm.
you need to forget about that fear. And I feel this fear of not getting placed is
Mm.
very uncertain. If there'll be people only from the society speaking, you're just 20, 21, you're at such a small age, we all
Mm.
can take risks.
Yeah.
There are people who are switching 4 to 5 jobs even
Mm.
after they land up into a good company. They'll switch their
True.
job in some. So the reason behind them switching is,
Mm.
one, they don't like the company. The second, they are not getting that much of pay. So if
Mm.
they are able to take that risk, this risk of getting fired is something that will stay on your head forever
Mm.
if you're
Okay.
working in corporate. So like right now also, my
Mm.
probation just ended a few days back in Feb
Mm.
itself.
Mm.
Now I've completed 6 months. So I had this doubt once or twice, which was not letting me perform that well, because even if there would be some, some kind of assessment or something, I would be feared that this will help, this will, play some role, and I might get fired. No, it's not like that. The company
Mm.
is obviously hiring, they need
Mm.
people,
Mm.
they are hiring for that specific reason itself. And if
Mm.
they are not able to give you full time, one
Mm.
of the major reasons is that they don't have openings. It is
Okay.
not that you're not working that great. Then
Mm.
second, if they have openings, let's say they have 3 openings, and for that 3 openings they have 4 or 5 candidates
Mm.
that are, again, the number of openings are not greater than or equal to the number of interns,
Mm.
then in that case they will obviously choose the best of the 5. So
True.
how will they know who's better, who's a better
Mm.
learner? Again, the same thing, what your personality is, how much you're connecting with people, how much you are cooperating, how much you are, trying to learn.
Mm.
They will see, because 6 months is also a small period of time. It's not
True.
like they are always judging you.
Mm.
The people who are working with you in your team, they are
Mm.
also normal people.
Mm.
I'm not saying, like, obviously, again, I will say luck plays a role, and you might get a boss who's so irritating and who's always complaining. That's totally luck. I won't say anything to that. Luck plays
Okay.
some quite tough role, but then in major, like what you see in corporate today, because it has increasingly, increased the ethics and all play a role. So
Hmm.
it's just how much you learn, how much you like. If you like, you would obviously deliver. That's my simple understanding.
So a very important aspect is to keep learning here.
Yeah, yeah. So learning is important so that even if you don't, make a full time at that company, you have
Hmm.
that learning, and the next interview you can say I
Hmm.
worked 6 months in that company,
Hmm.
and they have also, like, the team members have recommended me also, and I am good at this, I have
Hmm.
learned this, and you can tell them about that 6 months, and boom, you crack the interview.
Hmm. 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 True, true. So, Akshat, a very quick question. What study material or what websites you suggest to prepare for an interview?
Simply, like, obviously, if you are it would depend upon what different things you're trying. There are so many platforms out there. You have Coursera and all, so you can find study material.
Hmm.
It's almost open source, and you can find it any place. For
Hmm.
non-technical,
Hmm.
especially, India Bix is one of the best way you can brush up your aptitude and all. For electronics specific, I
Okay.
majorly considered the same
Hmm.
books that were out there, and from which I was initially studying. And the best
Okay.
is,
Hmm.
I prepared from where I prepared was the question banks of Ville Gate preparations. So there are a lot many
Okay.
books
Hmm.
and out there for preparing you, question banks
Hmm.
out there for preparing you
Hmm.
for Gate. So I prepared through them because that were the
Hmm.
maximum, like, that is, I
Hmm.
wanted some question banks to prepare from. So they have some Villa's
Hmm.
publications have some good, description. They have some short descriptions in the
Hmm.
beginning, and then they have question banks, and they have answers also.
Okay.
So it's good. It's up to you from where you want to
Okay.
prepare. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, okay, got it. So I think Akshat, we have covered everything in depth basically. So any last closing line or any learning you want to share?
Okay, one key thing that I want to tell everyone as we're talking majorly about placements and all is not to lose hope. Okay,
Yeah.
one thing, not to be nervous, be confident enough in
Hmm.
yourself. You'll see a lot of up down. I'm
Hmm.
speaking out
Hmm.
of my personal experience. um, I got rejected into many
Hmm.
companies. My friends were getting all placed, I was not getting placed. I was not even there. There's a gamble out there, especially like
Hmm.
if you're aiming for some specific core electronics companies, then the number of companies that come for placements is less.
Hmm.
And there's a gamble that you'll be playing, that you won't be able to work that much on software or IT companies. So one thing that I would go for is,
Hmm.
this is the time that we can take risk. Most of us are from well-off families. I'm not saying there are at times situations when your family cannot
Hmm.
support. I can understand that. Then the best thing is to reach out for as much of
Hmm.
help as you can and try to give your best. Just one thing that we need to focus on is not to give hope on us. Talk to your friends as much as possible. They
Hmm.
actually becomes your life support because they are
Hmm.
also going through the same thing. So your friends are going.
Hmm.
Just keep trying, and you'll get into something good. And to be honest, when you start working, you'll be like, oh man,
Okay.
why were we struggling so much? And it's nothing, like we all do. Like after studying your third semester, you'll be mocking your first semester. It's gonna be the same. That is how life is. Just be happy and
Okay.
go for what
Hmm.
you love. That's my message. Yeah.
Okay, Akshat. I think we have covered everything. It was in-depth knowledge session, I say. And you have
Sure.
gave answer to all the queries that a newbie to the industry have, I think. So great to have you, Akshat. Thank you so much for coming, Akshat. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pratik. Thank you so much. Thanks for this platform. Also, like, if any one of us who's listening to us wants to connect to me,
Hmm.
Pratik, please share my email ID. uh, email first. Sorry, I'm not available Monday to Friday as such. So we can surely connect whenever we can. We can communicate through mails and all, and they can
Yes.
easily connect to me on LinkedIn as well.
Mhm.
And we can talk through if they want some doubts further cleared in person. They have some questions, then I'll be happy to answer.
Sure, sure. So, okay. Thank you so much, Akshat.
Thanks, Prateek. Good to talk to you. Bye bye.
So, listeners, that's all for today. See you next week with a new industry expert, a new story to learn from. Stay tuned, podcast Chords.